In today's episode, we will be talking about the Ontario Women's League, the heart of senior women's club rugby in Ontario. We'll be covering how the league works, who's in it, and what changes we might see, and what listeners should know as we enter the 2026 season. Welcome back to Pitchside with myself, Sean Ryan Radio, the podcast focused on grassroots rugby across Canada. Today, we're diving into the Ontario Women's League, Women's Senior Club Rugby in Ontario, and one of the most exciting competitions in the province. But before we dive into it, I got to backtrack to the last episode. There was a few things I said that were changed in the time that I've made this episode. One of the things being that the Marshall Championship, I was kind of, is it going to be 10 games? Is it going to be 14? That whole debacle, and you can check it out in the last episode. It has been confirmed. It's going to be 14 games in the season. So we're going to have a home and away against each team in the division, in the group, in the conference, whatever you want to call it, in the championship. They're going to be battling each other. So it's going to be super exciting. I'm super excited for those fixtures between Niagara and Bytown and then back and forth. That's the one I'm already thinking of. But there's so many great clashes that I'm just super excited about. And yeah, the other thing was the interbranch games. I was under the impression they were happening in early May. They're actually happening in early April. But the Ontario Blues training camp and their possible tour to BC is happening in early May. So that's going to affect the opening games in the Marshall. So it's still going to be affected in those opening weeks of the Marshall. But it's the Ontario Blues training camp that's going to be affecting that more. So now getting into the episode, what is the Ontario Women's League? First off, it is Rugby Ontario's senior women's competition. It brings the top women's club sides from across the province to compete annually in this league. The league is central to women's growth in rugby. It builds competition, community, player development, all that sort of stuff happens in this league. When you talk about the season, it's similar to the Marshall. The only difference is that it finishes a bit earlier. So it starts in May. Normally that first weekend, and then it finishes in August is when we finally figure out who has won the Owl Cup. So some of the influential figures that are in the Canada international team that have played or played with some of these teams that are in this league. Claire Gallagher is one that comes to mind. Aurora Barbarians, McKinley Hunt, who could forget Aurora Barbarians, Julia Schnell. She was absolutely phenomenal in the World Cup. She played for Guelph RFC. And Sarah Caljuvi, Toronto Scottish, and then Sarah Sovaboda. I think I pronounced that right. If I butchered it, do let me know. She played for Brantford Harlequins and Belleville Bulldogs, both in the Owl this year. So super exciting stuff to see such talented players come from this league. And those teams must be super delighted that they've created such talent from their club. Now, in terms of how the league is formatted, you have a premiership, you have a championship. So it's very similar to how it's run in the Marshall. And then we will dive into it a bit more in the episode, but there is a promotion demotion element to it. But we will dive into it a little bit later in the episode. But just to let you know, there is promotion demotion. How it works is a bit it's a bit to get into, but we will talk about it. Don't worry about it. We will talk about it. I just wanted to kind of, ease into it. So the Owl Premiership is going to have 6 teams. So it's a bit different in that sense. There's 6 rather than the 8 that's in the Marshall. The 6 teams consist of Guelph RFC or Rugby, Bradford Harlequins, Aurora Barbarians, Scarborough Aces, Toronto Nomads, and the Oshawa Vikings. They play 10 games. So they play each other twice, home and away. And it's very exciting stuff. In the Premiership, they are the top sides in the province. So these are the top leagues. If you want to look for talented players, they're going to be in the Premiership. Not to say that there isn't talent in the Championship, but that is the top league. For the Championship, it's a bit different again. It is 8 teams, so it's a bit bigger, similar to the Marshall Championship. As I was saying, where I was going, it could be East and West. This league works that way. Because the last year, I believe the format's going to be exactly the same this year, where we're going to have East and West. So we have in the West, we have Burlington Centaurs, London St. George, Toronto Scottish, and Waterloo County. And in the East End, we have Ottawa Irish, Belleville Bulldogs, Kingston Panthers, and Peterborough Pagans. So they're the teams that are in those 2 divisions. As I mentioned last week, and I'll explain it again. If you're in the East Division, so let's say you're Ottawa Irish, you play Belleville Bulldogs, Kingston Panthers, Peterborough Pagans. You play them twice, home and away, and then you play everybody else in the opposite division. So Burlington Centres, London St George, Toronto Scottish, and Waterloo. You play them once, and it's kind of a mix of home and away. So you could be playing Burlington away. That's the game that you play. You could be playing London St George at home. That's the game you play. So it's very interesting in that side of things that it changes from year to year. The championship was only founded last year, so I believe that it's just going to mimic what it was last year. But it's definitely boosted the excitement for women's rugby. I feel like it's definitely putting a shine on some of the teams that are trying to get up into the Premiership. Now we have teams that are battling for it, which is really exciting. In terms of the point system, exactly the same as I said for the Marshall. You got 4 points for a win, 2 points for a draw, 0 points for a loss. You get a bonus point if you score more than four tries. Or four tries, and you get a bonus losing point when you lose by less than seven or one score. So what to be looking out for this season? In terms of teams to be looking out for, these are kind of a few the top teams that I think are going to be of these little divisions. For the championship, it's East and West. I'm going to pick the top two from there. For the Premiership, I'm going to pick the top three teams that I think you should look out for. If you're a new viewer of Ontario Women's Rugby, these are the teams to look out for straight away. And yeah, as I said last week with the Marshall teams, the teams that I don't mention in this are well capable of causing an upset, causing chaos, causing all that drama. So I am looking forward to those teams battling it out and saying, "Yeah, Sean, you're way off the mark. You are so bad at this." I'm excited to be proven wrong. I'm excited to be proven wrong. But as I said, any of these teams that I don't mention are well capable of causing chaos this year too. So they're up in this league. It's the top league that you want to be in. So for the Premiership, Guelph Rugby historically are the strongest team in the AL. Why do I say that? It's because they've won the last five Owl Cups in the last 5 seasons. So they are ridiculously good. They've got a lot of talent in their squads. Now, they've had a record for a long while of just being undefeated in the league. And last year, we finally saw a crack in the armour with Bradford Harlequins, and that's a team that I also want you to look at. Bradford Harlequins gave them a run for the money. They won at home against Guelph, and it was a massive upset because it was the first time in a long while that Guelph had understood what a loss was. So it was a big deal. It also gave a lot of momentum into Harlequins last season, which was a big boost for them. They did end up playing in the final against Guelph. Obviously, it wasn't in their favour, but their team definitely be looking out for being like they are competitive. They're going to be trying to build up that momentum and cause Guelph a bit of problems because they know they can. So that's one aspect to look at it. The other team that I want you to look at, number 3 on this list, Aurora Barbarians. They have been always a competitive side. You look at the past few seasons, they've always been up there in the top 3. They've been just kind of finishing strong. So the top 3 in the last 3 seasons. So I expect them to do the same this year. They were, I think, just a point below Bradford Harlequins in the standings last year. So they're going to be wanting to get revenge in that sense. So those 3 teams are very like in a kind of a triangle of battling each other and trying to top it all off. But Guelph is the top dogs as it stands right now. In the East, there's no I don't think it's anybody's surprise that I'm picking the Ottawa Irish. They had an unbeaten season last year. And personally, just the way they've been playing, I think they could technically battle Guelph and cause them serious competition if they were pushed into the Premiership. So I do think and we'll talk about promotion in a second, but if they were promoted to the Premiership, I do think they would definitely challenge those teams in that mix. I do think they're well capable of doing it. The second team that I have in the east side of things is Peterborough Pagans. They finished second in the Owl Championship, only losing to the Irish on all 3 encounters because they are in the same division. So they played them twice and they played them in the playoffs for the title of being the Owl Champion. So they'll be wanting revenge this year. They'll probably be studying the Ottawa Irish down to a T, being like, if we can figure them out, we're pretty much golden, or we can actually have a good stab at getting, winning the league. So they're going to be looking at that. But furthermore, we're going to dive into the West. As I said, I have two teams for this. First one is Waterloo County. They finished top of the East last year. They had a rocky season in terms of winning. They only won 4 out of the 10 games. But the reason they finished top of the table is because they claimed all those bonus points, whether it was losing, whether it was scoring 4 tries. That helped them push to the top. And they'll be hoping for like a more of a cleaner run this time around. Um, do apologize for my stomach. But they'll be eager to win more games, make it a bit more clean cut, and kind of push themselves away from the competition in their division. Um, London St. George is the second team that I picked from the East, because they were the only team to win 5 wins in that division. But they didn't finish on top because they missed out bonus points that unfortunately just didn't go their way. But I think if they picked up those bonus points, they certainly would have been ahead of Waterloo in terms of standings. But it just didn't happen that way. It just didn't happen that way. Just had to cut this part of the episode and insert this clip because things had changed from when I originally recorded this episode. So I record my episodes on Monday and Tuesday. Today is Wednesday. Things had changed by then. So I'm adding this clip in just in case it sounds like, oh my God, he came out of nowhere, or I'm slightly out of angle, or something's array. That's the reason for it. So one of the things that I was going to discuss, and I am going to discuss, is the possible changes for the 2026 season for the Owl. And some of this got confirmed, which I'm going to put it all into the end of this segment. But these are the changes that we possibly could see. Maybe we won't see, but it's definitely something to put a question mark over because I have a question about it. So last year we didn't see a promotion for the Premiership, Championship, those sides going back and forth. Will we see it this year? That's the big question happening because we were informed that it was 2027 is where we will see those promotion demotion. But what happens if you win the league in 2026 for the championship? Are you going to get promoted to the Premiership for the 2027 season? Or is it the promotion demotion happening in that season? So there's a big question mark there for me personally. So maybe we might see it. It'd be very good to add it into the mix. Obviously, as we said in the show, the championship was only founded last year, so they're still figuring it out. But that's something to kind of keep an eye out for. Keep your ear to the ground. I will know. I will let you know when I get the answer for it. The other thing is we could possibly see, and this is more of a rumor-esque vibe to it, is similar to the McCormick Cup, is what we were saying with the 16 teams battling it out. Could we see it in the Owl? The only difficulties with that is there isn't 16 teams in the Owl. There's only 14, with 6 in the Premiership, 8 in the Championship. So it does beg a question: is that even possible right now with the way the structure is? But it's definitely a good question to ask, I feel, with the possible changes happening in the 2026 season. Now, to the part that I had to cut in is basically the events hosts for the championship games across the country for different demographics was announced by Rugby Ontario on Wednesday today, and that's why I'm adding in this segment. So the host clubs for those major competitions. So first off, as we're talking about the Owl, I might as well start with the Owl. The Premiership and the Championship finals are happening in Brantford Harlequins, and it's taking place on the 15th of August. So super exciting stuff. I was there for the McCormick Cup last year. It was a really good event. Obviously, that happened in October. This is happening in August, so you're going to have a bit of heat down there. It is very warm down there during the summer. Their grounds, I've never been there where it's out of the heavens raining. So it's going to be good in terms of being not too wet, but can be quite warm down there. And the days out there for the McCormick Cup, if you were at the event, you know exactly what it was like. It was absolutely fantastic to have so many people down at it, and it was good energy, good energy. So I'm hoping for the exact same this year for the Premiership and the Championship. Now, for the junior provincial and regional champions, that's going to be hosted by the Eastern Ontario Rugby Union clubs. Now, it's a couple of clubs, is my understanding. It hasn't been confirmed which clubs exactly, but we've been told in the video that was posted by Rugby Ontario on Wednesday that it's clubs from the Eastern Ontario Rugby Union. And I believe it's being hosted at Twillingham Park. because some of those clubs aren't based in Twillham. So there was a big question mark for me because we don't know which clubs in the Eastern Ontario Rugby Union. We could have Barrhaven, for example. You could have Kingston. I know Kingston's a bit further away, but I'm just giving you examples of like, okay, they don't have their home games at Twillham. So are we going to see it kind of split up a small bit, or is it all going to happen at Twillham? Um, and if so, it's going to happen on the 22nd of August. And that's my understanding from the announcement. Now, I've been to Twillham on multiple occasions. It is an absolute fantastic venue. It's just fields upon fields. If there's wind there, it is fierce. It is absolutely fierce. There's no real protection in terms of trees and stuff like that. So that's one thing for kickers on the day. If it's going to be windy, it's going to be a tough challenge. But it's a really good venue for it, and it's probably one of my favorites that I've been to. The U14s provincial championship will be hosted by the Brampton Beavers on the 23rd of August, so that's going to be exciting for the under 14s. The junior club sevens championship will be taking place a bit closer to home for me, and most likely we'll be trying to get to this event. It's going to be happening in the Barry Sports Community Centre complex. My apologies. Hosted by, you guessed it, Barry RFC on the 17th and 18th of October. So that's going to be a good one to watch. If I'm around, I will more than likely try and get myself down there because it's going to be a good day out. And it's a close journey for me. So I'm super excited about that. And then finally, the one you're waiting for, if you were listening to the last episode of McCormick Cup, I had all my speculations. But the McCormick Cup, the Fall Cup, and the GG Cup will be hosted by the Oakville Crusaders on the 24th of October. So that's super exciting for them. I haven't been to a game down there, but I did manage to jump out of the car, run, grabbed an Oakville jersey, and saw a bit of the grounds while I was there. Super exciting stuff. It's a really cool venue. They have a lot of forestry around them from where I saw. So, the wind isn't going to be as bad as I said for Twillem, for example, but that's super exciting, and I'm looking forward to try and get myself down there for the final and of the Fall Cup and the McCormick Cup and the GG Cup, of course, for that. And then in rugby news across Canada, man, there's so much news. There's a lot of it intertwined with the Owl, which I'm super excited to portray. But just to let you know, if you are a team that isn't in Ontario, that you're like, Sean, you need to know this, tag me. Tag me at Sean Ryan Radio. Or Sean_Ryan_radio. Tag me in it. Because I want to know the information. There's only so many posts I can see on Instagram, and if you're tagging me, then I'm going to focus a bit more on it. That's just human nature, really. So if you do want to help me get the knowledge quicker, get it to the point, have the knowledge, being able to expand to touch on different bases, do tag me in posts. Do, if it's a story, tag me in the story. If you want to, if it's a post, share it to me. Like, do that because it does help me get that nitty-gritty information for people that are listening that are new to the scene or want to know more about it or things they just didn't hear or they missed out. I want it just to be a collection. Anyway, let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. Belleville Bulldogs have given me the inside scoop on this one, and they've appointed Joe Robinson as the head coach for the women's team. Now, if you don't know who Joe is, she has coached 15 years of high school and junior rugby. She's very talented. The squad sounds very excited about having her on board. This is her second season as head coach of the Loyalists after being 8 years of assistant coach. So she's surrounded by talent there and just totally understands the role of being a head coach. So being a head coach of Belleville is going to be a big step up for her, and I think she's well up for the task. She's well up for it, and I'm super excited to see how she plays out because I'm definitely keeping a close eye on that regard. Now, Scarborough Aces are celebrating their 5th anniversary this year, and it's, congratulations, because we always like to see new teams kind of build in and kind of making a name for themselves. They are one of the most competitive sides around, and 5th anniversary, I'm hoping they do a bit of a shake up. I didn't put them in my top 3 to look out for this season, but I think they're a team definitely that will test the waters this year. They'll want to get some wins. They'll want to say, hey, look, it's our 5th anniversary and we're taking home the old cup. That's the mentality that they're going to have coming into it. So will we see a shake-up? We might see it. So I'm going to keep an eye out for them as well. Mississauga Blues announced as well Mike Curran and Mike Raftis, sorry, my apologies, are going to be the coaches for their under-18s program. So wish the boys the very best of luck on that. Ottawa G. Let me say that again. Ottawa GG's announced new head coach of women's rugby team. Jennifer Russell is taking charge. She is absolutely fantastic. If you don't know Jennifer's background, here's a bit of a snippet for you. She served as head coach for the under 18s East women's 15s. She was the assistant coach for Canada's under 20s in 2024-2025, and she was previously head coach of York University Women's for 2016 and 2020. Now she is filling in the role for Jack Hanratty, who has moved position. He has now been he's now gotten the position of being head coach for the USA women's team. So that's a big promotion to him. So she has gotten the opportunity to join the GGs. They are a very good side in this women's program. They are competitors in the RSEQ. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Jennifer takes on this challenge, takes on this approach. I think she has the capabilities, she has the skill set. So I'm super excited for Jennifer. So wish her the best of luck. But I'll be keeping an eye out on seeing how those results go for her. Last but not least, I have a lot of coaching updates. A lot of coaching updates on this episode. I think it might be just the season, getting prepared for the season. The TRU, so we were talking about interbranch rugby last week. This intertwines with this. That the TRU have announced their coaching staff for their interbranch matchups. So it includes Ian McLeish, who was head coach of Bammy Beach. Big title there. He's won multiple McCormick Cup titles. Ontario's men's attack coach as well is under his belt, so he's a top dog when it comes to it. Sam Mace is taking the reins as well on this coaching staff. He's been head coach of Leeds Beckett Women's in the UK. He's coached the Markham Irish men's and Ontario West senior women. So he's got a lot of experience under his belt, and you might know him from his Instagram videos as well because he's very talented at that. So he's a good asset to have on the team. Chris Thomas, he was the head coach of TMU. Men's, he's the assistant coach for the Ottawa GGs and led them to the undefeated season in 2016. Which is absolutely massive for them as we intertwined with the last bit of talking about the Ottawa GG's new update. And then Brandon, my apologies, misread that. Brandon Kirkwood, coach with 10 plus experience, director of player development at Barry Rugby Club, is also in the coaching staff. So I think they're quite capable of taking home the W in these matchups. They'll be looking quite confident with the coaching staff that they have. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that all plays out in the interbranch matchups in April. Now, in international news, first things first, there's no Six Nations this week, so I'm a bit upset, but to be fair, I'm still absolutely delighted from last weekend. If you don't know, I'm Irish, so winning against England, absolutely. I think I was buzzed for a couple of days after that. I've probably watched the game 3 or 4 times by now. So pretty delighted by the result. But yeah, there's nothing happening this weekend for Six Nation news in terms of that. We will have the games next weekend with Scotland versus France and Ireland versus Italy versus England and Ireland versus Wales. There we go. That'll be happening the week after. So I'm looking forward to them. The other international news, and it's kind of Canadian news, but it's kind of international at the same, is the Vancouver Sevens kick off next weekend. So I'm really excited about that. If you don't know what the Vancouver Sevens is, it is the Canada's leg of the World Rugby Sevens Series. It's bringing the top men's and top women's sevens teams to Canada, and it's hosted in BC Place in Vancouver. It's known for its electric indoor atmosphere and packed crowds. I know the atmosphere is going to be absolutely crazy at that event. It's normally a big one. If you don't know rugby sevens, because it's kind of a new topic for me, it was something I discovered while I've been in Canada, to be honest with you. Rugby sevens is men's seven players aside, and it's 7 minutes halves. That's it, really. It's high scoring, it's fast paced, and it's perfect for like festival style weekend. There's a lot of sevens tournaments that I will mention in the next couple of weeks. One coming up quite close, happening out in Truro, is the Truro Sevens. Which is an absolute massive one. But I will talk more about it next week because we will be diving into it a bit closer. It is normally around the weekend of St. Patrick's Day, which is also on the horizon. And yeah, regarding the Vancouver Sevens, it's one of the biggest international events held in Canada each year and a massive boost to the Canadian rugby scene. So that's the episode. That's my owl episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Want to give a shout out to Rockin' in Kind for sending me over this hat. They also sent me over this t-shirt. If you're listening to this, it's up on my story. I'm going to put on my Instagram story of what the back looks like. It's pretty much the same as the front. It says Rockin' Kind. Big on the back. It doesn't say anything on the front, but sure, look, I said I'd wear the hat as well. For anybody listening, that's I'm wearing this green kind of beanie-esque hat. But yeah, it's very comfortable, very comfortable. So do check them out if you're into rugby merch, into stuff that's local or locally, sold. That's one to be checking out. Ruckin is kind. Ruckin is kind. It's Ruckin kind. To check out because this hat is really really baller. But yeah, if you enjoy the episode, make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Spotify. You can find me on Instagram. You know where the link, most of you know the link at this stage. It's at Sean_Ryan_radio. And if you want to be a part of the podcast, you want to be, whether you want to send videos for a topic that I'm coming up with, whether it's you want to get interviewed, whether you have information that you're like, Sean, you need to know this, do email me at seanryanradio@gmail.com or comment below, whether it's YouTube or Spotify. You can comment on both. It boosts the algorithm and helps promote rugby as well. If you do want to help me, another way to do it, and discover and cover Canadian rugby more and more and more, you can support the show by going to my Ko-Fi. It is in my YouTube, or not my YouTube, Instagram bio. It's also going to be in YouTube. It's going to be in just below here. Spotify, I still don't know where the area is. I'm still learning it. But once I find it, I will direct you a bit more on the Spotify side of things. But that helps me, helps with just running this podcast. It takes a lot of effort. I want to make it even better and better and better. And if you want to help me, that is fantastic. Really do appreciate it. Now, in the next episode, we are going to be talking to Kyle Moeller. It's going to be my first interview. I'm really excited about it. If you don't know who Kyle is, he is a great guy. He's kicking number 10 for Markham Irish. And he has set up his new kicking with Kyle program that he's going to be doing during the summer, which is really cool and exciting. So we're going to talk all about that. And we're also going to be talking about Markham Irish, where he thinks they're going to line up, some of the thoughts about the Marshall, all that sort of jazz is going to happen in that episode. So until then, I'm Sean Ryan, and this has been Pitchside.